Welcome to Complete QB Live. Tonight's special guest is Coach Nasir Gaines. Here are your hosts, Chris Johnston and Ryan O'Flaherty.
Welcome back to Complete QB Live, episode 10. We're happy to be with you. So exciting night here, co-director, co-host, Ryan O'Flaherty. Coach O'Flaherty, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Coach. How are you?
Everything is good, man. We like that beautiful view out the back window, just reminding us all that you do have lakefront property, man. We appreciate that, okay? So tonight we got some fun stuff going here because we're going to talk all the rule changes. It's been so much negative talk that's been in the air recently, Coach, related to it. We're going to play. What's the preseason going to look like? All of that. We're gonna just lock ourselves away in complete QB land for a little while here and just say, hey, you know what? We're gonna stay positive. We're playing this football season, and we are gonna look at rule changes on all three levels of football that we typically discuss. That's high school, college, and the NFL. Rule changes that caught our eye at each of those levels, and then we're gonna welcome our special guest, good friend to both of us, Coach. That's Nasir Gaines. Coach Nas is from the Brick City Lions in Newark, New Jersey. So we're excited to have a discussion with him. And then we're going to jump in, Coach, to Complete QB Trivia. It's a hit. Fans go crazy for it, Coach. You know that? So we're going to jump into that. So just before we get into that, Coach, I think what we'll do is actually, you know, we're going to go on ahead straight into the different rule changes that we're talking about here. And I think this is an interesting year because there's a whole bunch of stuff that's been going on out there in the world, like in terms of like debate that happened on the NFL level, things around replay and all of that. I know there were a lot of complaints last year about targeting and all of that. So I think we're going to touch on a lot of that right now. And then, Coach, I wonder if you read the fine print with the NFHS, the federation. After we're all done with discussing the rule changes, Coach, I'm going to ask you if you noted one of the points of emphasis that I think could impact and affect Coach Ryan O'Flaherty's life. So we'll get to it, all right? So the first rule that's up, Coach, is at the federation level, and that is spiking the ball to preserve time. Now, that's always something been done traditionally from under center. So if you were a spread team that was exclusively in the gun, you had to be able to execute an under center snap if you wanted to stop the clock. Significant rule change with the federation this year, and that's going to apply. I believe it's going to be uniform adoption, whole country, that everybody is going to adopt this rule. And now, as long as you're lined up behind center, you could be, 4 or 5 yards back in a traditional shotgun stance as a quarterback, able to spike the ball to stop the clock. This is probably a really dumb question to ask you, Coach O'Flaherty. How do you like this rule change?
I think it makes sense. But there's going to be some gray areas there. In terms of spiking the ball and when it's allowed or permitted. But I think it makes sense. So many teams are in the shotgun. Why not just include shotgun teams? Although you're giving I don't want to say an advantage, if you're saying a predominantly team versus an advantage for one side. Interesting, but I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. And I will tell you this, though. The one thing that I hope that the spirit of the rule gets enforced the right way and they don't allow, I don't know if you have the ability to simulate a spiked ball. Under center, you don't really have the opportunity to. We've seen that years ago. The famous one, I think it was the Dolphins with Dan Marino, where he faked the spike and then went up top through a touchdown pass. I do think there has to be some enforcement around that. It's just got to be clear intention. If you're spiking the ball, you're spiking the ball. You're not faking spiking the ball. So we'll see how that plays out for sure. The second rule we're going to jump on, Coach O'Flaherty, is one that you pointed out. It's at the Ncaa level, and it has to do with stuff in the pregame. Yep. Talk to me about that. What's this new rule at the Ncaa level?
So we play a lot of Saturday afternoon games for one reason or another. And, you get in early in the morning and turn on the TV in the office and, you're watching all the pre-games and you kind of see, you see all, the 1 o'clock games, all the teams coming out, warming up. And, you bring it back to, Florida State and Miami and all those big rivals. Then you get some pushing and shoving that goes on, and the emotion takes over. And I think that's the greatest part, or one of the great parts about high school and college football. There's so much emotion behind it. But now what the rule is doing is it's requiring every player. So you'll go out and you'll see guys with no shirts on, shorts, and there's no number identification. So if something were to happen and the referees come out to, walk the field and do what they have to do for their pregame, they have no way of identifying and saying, number 15 and 28. And, so I think from that end, I think they had to do something. It happens so often, when high school, college football is so much emotion, and you're, in college, sometimes you're playing in front of 110,000 people. So, you really can't blame them. So the rule states, that pretty much the only change is that they have to have something numerical on them. So I think you'll start to see, coaches just enforce, everybody's going out in compressions with their number and name on the back. I thought that was pretty interesting because, you see it so often now, the jawing back and forth and pushing and shoving at the 50 or in the tunnel. And, I think it's great for the game. I don't know about other people. But I guess, like I said about, spiking the ball, I think it makes sense. I think it's good for the game, and it helps out the officials.
Yeah, definitely. I think probably the lives that get made the easiest here are the officials. If there's anything that does happen pregame, they got a quick and clear understanding of who's involved and what it is, and being able to communicate a message to a particular person, they can do it. So I think it's a positive change for sure. The next one this was on my list, Coach, and this is for staying at the Ncaa level, and that is that the number 0 is now legal. And I don't know why I'm so enamored of this rule, but this is a good thing, man. We've got now for the first time, we've got number 0 being legal. This takes me back to my childhood, Coach, because I grew up a Boston Celtics fan. As you may be aware, super producer Renee on the name change, Coach. You can't see this right now. This is amazing what's going on right now on the broadcast. But anyway, the chief, Robert Parrish, wore 00 for the Celtics when I was growing up, and then obviously, so 0 was always something. I remember growing up as a kid seeing Al Oliver playing Major League Baseball for the Expos wearing 0, and there were a couple other guys in baseball wearing 0. I always said that'd be nice if they did that. The explanation they gave was that the proliferation and the popularity of single-digit numbers, this gave them one more. What I will tell you is that, like, if you want to precede a single-digit number with a 0, like I want to be number 09 or I want to be 00, it ain't happening. The one question that wasn't answered for me on Ellis is it a single-digit number that's eligible? Can number 0 be eligible? And I don't know. How do you like this rule real quick, Coach? Number 0 is now eligible in football.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is 0 eligible or not? I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. I mean, you see it in basketball a little bit. I don't know who would want to wear it. But hey, single digits are a big deal nowadays.
No doubt. You want to be one of the
makes it easier for
those number 0s, Coach. Well, I tell you right now, they play for us. You're gonna be out of luck because I can't see us running out and ordering a number 0 if they adopt this at the high school level. I don't think it's gonna happen, man. Coach, you had fourth one. We're staying in the Ncaa, and this is a modification to the targeting rule, which I think has been good. Even though at the high school level, I've been on the wrong side of this rule, and I think really unfair application, and then unfair in terms of a missing. In terms of a missing appeals process. But at the college level, talk about the modification to the targeting rule, Coach.
Yeah, so the modification comes, when we start in-game right after it happens. So they confirm that it's targeting. Normally you see some support staff escort the player into the locker room. One of the first things that they're doing is they're allowing the player to stay in the team area, which I'm assuming – and it reads to me as it's going to be the sideline. which for me makes a ton of sense because you're talking about a defender who's sometimes cannot help themselves in terms of where they're hitting an offensive player, and there's no malice behind it or intent. So allowing that player who could have played all 4 quarters, and now it's crunch time, and now you got to go to the locker room. So that's the first modification. That's how I read it. I think that's really important, allowing the players to stay within the team area. And then the other, and I'm not sure if these are exact modifications in terms of what if a player is ejected in the first half, that they're going to miss the first half of the next game. The big thing is, again, the way I read the modification is that player for the next week can participate in pregame warmups.
Correct.
So that's something, and I don't understand why that wouldn't be in place anyway. Why would you not want, usually, somebody that's in your 2 deep, why would you not want them to be going through those pregame warmups, knowing that they're going to come back in the third and fourth quarter of the game?
And
so,
I think
slight modifications.
Safety. Yeah, I think that impacts player safety as well, Coach, which you're discussing. I think that you have to have. I want somebody involved in warmups for sure. I think that's pretty critical. The last rule we're going to review here, this is at the NFL level, and this one's kind of comical, I think, because this is with preventing multiple dead ball penalties that allow for the clock to get milked. Now, your beloved New York Jets that you grew up loving, Coach, first of all, you just get a lot of respect just for being a Jets fan. I got to give that to you, man. That ain't an easy team to cheer for. But I remember Belichick. This probably happened around about. This is in October, so this is probably late first half of the season against the Jets. They're up 33-0, by the way. So that had to boil the blood of all Jets fans that this happened. But basically, what happened was that if the clock was running when a delay of game happened and a new 25-second clock following the penalty was started, that you could continue to have that clock run as long as there was more than 5 minutes left in the half. So this was the fourth quarter, and the Patriots ran off close to 90 seconds against the Jets. So everybody who hates the Patriots, which is basically everybody except the Patriots and their fans, was happy because Belichick was pretty fired up. You could tell that he figured out a way to find the loophole in the NFL rules. So fast forward now to the NFL playoff game at New England. Mike Rabel's Tennessee Titans come into town, and late in the game, which was this wound up being potentially a major factor in difference in the game. Mike Rabel did the exact same thing, and he ran off significant time in the fourth quarter. I think he ran off a little bit more than Belichick ran off against the Jets 3 months prior. And the reason it was significant is the Patriots' last possession started when there was 15 seconds, I think, or thereabouts left on the clock against the Titans as time expired. So they've closed that loophole, and I don't know if I'm going to ask your feelings in a second, but I think it's good because I like being able to, do something that requires some research and being bright as a football coach. But I really do think this is just that. It's a loophole. This game's not for lawyers and rules geeks. This game's for players and coaches. And so I didn't like it in the first place. So I think it's a good I do think we have I think it's a good rule modification. How do you like it?
No, just to echo what you said, I do like it just because you're allowing the players to play the game out. This is not just an NFL problem. This is this trickles down all the way to high school football, where there is significant there's a lot of inconsistency with some groups of officials of when that clock starts, and high school's going through, and I don't blame them, because high school's gone through the 40-second clock, and now it's there's some adjustments to when it could be a 25-second clock.
Correct.
I don't blame them. It's hard for me as a coach to wrap my head around it, but I do like letting it play out, letting it be, let the players handle it. Let the players, decide the outcome of the game.
Yeah, I'm with you all the way on that. Now, Coach, I did promise you that I wanted to know if you noticed the points of emphasis from the NCAA when it came to the rules. There were a total of 3 points of emphasis, and one of them, the third one they put was, I'm sorry, not the NCAA, the National Federation of High Schools. Sorry, Coach.
I got you.
The third point of emphasis from them was illegal man downfield, and that's potential impact on all these folks that like the ride and decide stuff, like inside zone, like to be able to throw the ball off of that. What I wonder, real quick before we jump to our guest, what do you think in terms of what type of impact could this really have? How significant would that impact be? And how easy is it for the officials to enforce? When I'm telling you, man, when it's bang bang and things are moving, I don't envy the officials trying to enforce illegal man downfield in the era of inside run and RPO and all of that. You know what I mean?
Listen, I'd be lying if we didn't run an RPO and it looks like a right tackle ran a corner route. We've been there. I think we've all been there. The problem becomes when things become a point of emphasis. Now you have eyes kind of taken away from other things that might be going on, right? This, a couple years ago, holding, or coach saying, "Hey, we're old," and then takes your eyes away. Again, I think it's going to be really hard for the officials. But again, I think it puts it on our shoulders as coaches, and then obviously the players have to execute. But just getting better at throwing throwing RPOs. I think the whole, unless you're going third level RPO and you really need to ride that thing, second level and things that happening out on the perimeter right now, I think they get out there so quick that I'd be really surprised if you get an illegal man downfield call. But again, you put a lot of pressure on the officials, and
no doubt.
It's unfair in some cases.
It's almost. I wonder how it's going to be, just the management of it without adding it. You can't. I mean, it's not practical to add an extra official, especially at the high school level. But to put a rule that you're going to put a point of emphasis like that, maybe it's a light point of emphasis. I don't know, but it feels like you need extra hands on deck. You need an extra official just to manage that. But as you said, I think if guys are running basically like stick concepts and the ball's out relatively early, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Jordan, we saw your question. We got Jordan Bernstein a question in the chat on Dwayne Haskins. Coach wanted to know, what's our opinion on Dwayne Haskins? I'll tell you real quick, and then I'll circle back with you later in the show, Coach. But Dwayne Haskins, I thought I wouldn't bail on him yet. Washington fans, I think he's with a team that has a disastrous ownership situation, has had some flux in the coaching situation, but really acquitted himself pretty well considering. He's mid-50s on completion percentage during his rookie season. I didn't feel like he threw awful ball after awful ball. He started 7 games, threw 7 touchdowns. I think he probably threw about that in terms of picks. And I thought he was pretty. I thought he acquitted himself pretty well. I do think he has some leadership characteristic. I liked the way he represented himself at Ohio State. I thought that he demonstrated a pretty good patience. He wasn't a long-term starter, but he did well when he got his shot at Ohio State. I like him, and I wouldn't give up on him yet if I was a Washington fan. I'll get back to your opinion, Coach, when we get a little bit deeper into the show, man, all right?
Yep.
But we've been, our guest has been really patient. This is a guy who you and I know well just because he's a constant presence in New Jersey, Coach O'Flaherty.
Sure is.
He's always around. I feel like I can't go too far to any kind of football venue or event without running into this guy, man. He's somebody who's got, kind of an electric personality, and people say, "Oh yeah, I know Coach Nas, man." So it's fun to have somebody who's at really all over at the youth level of football in the Northeast. Has his finger on the pulse of, I think, players, parents, coaches, and so it's a really unique perspective for us to get tonight. So we are really excited to welcome to Complete QB Live. Let's welcome in Coach Nasir Gaines from the Brick City Lions.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate y'all.
No doubt, man.
How's everything going?
Everything's going well, man. We're just, if you tell me we're going to play in 2020 for sure, then things will be going a lot better than that,
Yeah.
It's way up in the air, and that's something we'll talk about and we'll get to. But I know, we could just real quick, just say, like, we know that you probably, I know that a lot of youth coaches have access to their kids now in some level of conditioning or whatever, so they could be around them. That's not a luxury that we have yet at the high school level, unfortunately. What's your message, Ben, just trying to keep everybody's spirits up about 2020?
Just staying patient. We're going off of the high school rules, so we just, trying to social distance right now. We keeping them at 10 apiece. No more than 20 kids on the field at a time. Every kid had their own water bottles. It was mandatory that every coach was tested for COVID. Every kid is tested for COVID, and then we test each other. We get tested every 30 days after that.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a good blueprint to start. I think it's like, I don't even know that there's a perfect formula right here, but for those that, and we got some folks, we got some live viewers with us now. We also get a lot of views after the fact. So those folks that, particularly people that are not from New Jersey, not from the Northeast, that don't know what Brick City is all about, tell us a little bit about that. And I also want to know where to grow out of, because I know you were involved. You were a high school football player, and then you got into coaching and all that. So what is Brick City as we know it now? What did that evolve from? What was it once? Give us that history.
Okay. Well, I started out, I've been coaching 16 years. So when I started coaching in 2004, I started with a youth program out of North called the North Ward Scorpions. And it was more like a town league. We played each other in the town, and then you'll play all the town teams, and then you'll go out and then play in the regionals. So the kids kind of never had that experience of playing besides only playing in their own city. So once you play in your city, you leave out. So a couple years down the line, I meet a guy, Vernon Maynard, which is Masai's Maynard father. I met him at a Don Bosco at a camp, summer camp, and he came out, he watched the workouts. He said, "You got something good going there." And he was like, he's going to bring Masai back. And he brought Masai out last year with the North Ward Scorpion team. And he said, you have a good football team. And I'm like, no, we got a good program. He said, no, you don't have a program. I'm gonna teach you how to run your own organization. And then the next year we came up with 2012. We came up with the Brick City Lions, and the Brick City Lions was established because to service the kids that wasn't being serviced in North. We didn't have flag. We didn't service 5-year-olds. We didn't service the 14 or the unlimited kids. So that's what we started Brick City off of.
All right, man. That sounds like a humble beginning that very quickly it really blossomed into something that I know you guys are obviously very proud of. And there's not a lot of high school coaches in North Jersey that don't have some interaction with Brick City. It seems like your roster it just spreads out like throughout the state, man. You got kids represented in all types of places. Before we get into that piece of it, though, what do you think? Because I've seen a diverse population within your organization, and what I mean by that is there are kids that come from all different types of backgrounds. Some of the kids are in more quote-unquote traditional family where they got 2 parents in the home. Some kids are one. I've even, I can remember even meeting some kids that are in foster care arrangement, all different types of kids. What do you think kind of universally to all the kids that you serve, what do you think you provide to those kids that are part of Brick City?
Well, what's so good about that? Because like how you said that, we had kids from even like DJ Envy's son. And not to piggyback off Masai Maynard, but his dad would open up his home to everybody. And it would be kids like my son, Zamir Mickens, and other kids was able to go and experience that. And then I think when you're able to, as a kid from all different backgrounds, and it actually helped Masai, help other kids as well too. The honor to get into their culture. I remember it was a time Masai Maynard never been to a corner store. So for him to come to his friend's house and then go to a corner store, they're like, whoa, was he going to be okay? Yeah, he's going to be fine. And it kind of works both ways. So it gave him his little rough side, and then him, the way he speak, intelligent, it kind of rubbed off on a lot of other kids. So it's like a equal balance, just being in Brick City. We're a little bit more than just football, though. It's like a fraternity, we're like a brotherhood, and we kind of look out for each other. And I think that's the main thing. So, like you said, you may have kids that's in foster care, right? But the program stands behind them. We back them, and vice versa. Even the kids that is well off, sometimes they need a little assistance, and we back them as well. So it's kind of like a balancing.
No doubt.
balance out.
I think that's and it's obviously, sometimes it's like, if you've been in a city environment, you've been around any kind of services for kids, sometimes you see programs or like funding that's available and it goes to waste, or there's programs that kind of miss the mark or don't really provide the kind of service that it could. So I like that you mentioned Vernon Maynard. We gotta say, Coach O'Flaherty and I obviously know Vernon real well. So quick shout out to Vernon and kind of the infrastructure support that he gave you there. That sounds like a good thing. And I gotta ask a very real question, because we've all been around organizations at whatever level, in and out of football. What was it like in terms of what level of support have you received, and then what level of kind of hate or jealousy have you received or have you experienced? You have to listen. We're not a gossip show, but we just want to know, just in general terms. What's that been like, man? Because there's no way I'm about to flash on the screen. There's no way, Coach. Coach O'Flaherty, you can't see it because of where you're at. You're on our Skype feed. I got a newspaper clipping that said he's the most powerful man in NJ football. His star players aren't even in high school. The first thing I thought was good for Nas, good for Brick City. The second thing I thought was, he's going to get a lot of hate for that.
It's coming. It came right behind it. The hate outweighs the love, but, the love is there as well. I'm going to be me regardless, and the program is going to be the program regardless. Yep. The thing about it is, I feel like a lot of people haven't seen the world. Like, you have to see good football or visit other places. Like me, myself, I can't sit home. I was one of those guys like Coach O'Fly tell you. Same thing with you. You hosted the clinics for us. Same thing. I rub shoulders with guys like Coach Toll, Phil Sims. I'm gonna make myself available because I want to have all that knowledge. I want to soak it in, and then I'm the one who bring it back to the park. So, with that being said, the hate, it kind of motivates you. Is every year you get it. So it's like, how can you repeat? They're not as good as they were last year. So my off seasons become even stronger. So you see the quarterbacks that come probably train with you after that. My kids don't sit around. Our thing is to pump and promote them and push them. So that's always our goal at what we do. Yeah. Is to promote and push our kids.
So we talk about some of the stuff you encounter on the negative side. What type of people and organizations stick out in your mind when you think quickly about it that have been supportive?
People like our mayor, Raz Baraka. He started. We started off rough with him as well. Believe it or not, they run it. It's a city league program in our city. Our own city in Newark has 7 other youth football teams. Wow. They have their own league called the Newark Pop Warner. So we're amongst the jungle when it comes to that. Like, we got to fight and scrap. No. So our city is to support the Newark Pop Warner, which is under them. So now when we win and have to go to national things, that's why you see us on the news trying to raise money to go to Florida or things like that, because we don't have the funding. And then the money that the kids register with, that's to get them through to the league. So if you look at our team, we probably have team cleats, our uniform, 3 sets. Some levels have 2 sets of helmets. So, now moving forward, our mayor, Raz Baraka, is like totally behind Brick City. We're actually trying to get him to have a sign that says, welcome to Newark, home of the Brick City Lions, national champs. You see that at every other place where you go.
Coach, if that's on one of those ramps, I want you to be careful, because I know you'll have that on Instagram in no time. You stand next to the sign like this. Please be careful in traffic, man, if you take that flick, please, all right? Coach O'Flaherty, I know you want to talk to Coach a little bit about what some of these Brick City guys have done beyond playing for the Brick City Lions.
Yeah, so, obviously a lot of people in the state and in the tri-state and now nationally know about the Brick City Lions. And that is credit to you and, all the coaches and everybody that's behind the scenes that make an organization like that go. So, you look at the rosters throughout the years, and there's some really high profile guys, but as you know, there's there's some unsung heroes, kind of guys that make the team go, but might not get the same press. So who might be, some of those guys throughout the years? It doesn't have to be last year. It could be from anywhere.
Well, we had guys like Kenneth Pierce, who plays at DePaul. His name is probably not ringing like a lot like Charles Finley, but Kenneth Pierce was a hard-nosed kid for us. We had kids like Jawan Jones, another one, name probably wasn't as big as a lot of the other guys, but he was a big time talent. Jasim Brooks, he's currently playing now. Another good kid that I feel like he should get his just due. Zamir Mickens actually played with you guys. Another good kid. The most important one is a kid I coached recently. His name is Ncaa Jones. Ncaa Jones was like a do-it-all kid. He was actually like a running back, but for us, he was talented enough to actually play center and middle linebacker, D tackle, D back. He did it all for us and never complained. And I always tell him, I said, don't worry about it. When you go to high school, you never play the line in your life, but you'll be that running back that you want to become and things like that. So we had some good guys, man. Another kid too was Makai Catino, very good kid. Just a team player. Probably never got the ball thrown to him a lot. Never complained, kept his chest up. But he just did what he made his plays happen on defense. He'll catch an interception and probably had to return that other than getting the pass and not being highlighted like some of the bigger other kids.
Yeah, and you know this, and Coach, you know this as well. A lot of those guys, those unsung heroes, you look back to, our championship run last year. We have some really, really good players, but there's some other guys that kind of.
Your linebacker, number 5, Drew
Robinson, absolutely. Again, not as talented as a Cody Simon, but still, from a leadership standpoint. So, they definitely help. Now, while we're talking about the organization and kind of the direction, and in the positive direction that the organization's going, I believe there's a new conference, a different type of alignment. Can you speak to that for us?
Yes, man. So what we're doing now, instead of playing, we left Pop Warner. We left Pop Warner for a reason, because we wanted to form our own conference, which is the Big 21. It's 21 counties in New Jersey, and now we have 12 teams in it right now, currently. Bergen Stars, the EFP team from South Jersey. We have Silk City, Matawan, ASG, a couple other guys as well. I won't name all the teams, but we have a good group of teams. And
okay, looks like we lost Coach momentarily.
We did.
So we'll get him.
I apologize.
Coach is back.
He's back.
There it is. All right.
I apologize.
All right, go ahead, Coach. So you're talking about the configuration.
So we was talking about the Big 21. Yeah. So our goal was to have an umbrella, the put all the teams underneath. And we wanted to actually imitate the what the Big North doing, where all our top schools are in one conference and they playing against each other, and it's bang out. So this way, our high schools can get a easy look at all of the kids. The kids that have a fair chance of actually getting to a good school that they probably always dreamed of going to. But the league is just is to build New Jersey up, build our youth program to where it's never been before, competitive, game in and game out. So that's why we came all together to do this. Not just playing in New Jersey. So we have a thing where, like September 26th, it's a team from California that's actually flying in to play us, which is the OG Ducks. Then we have a team that's like Matawan is going to play the Maryland Heat. So we're going to go play the world so we can represent our state. That's our main goal, is to do that. So we actually got 2 out-of-state games. We got California coming here. We're going to Atlanta, and then we're going to Florida to play. We're going to Florida to play the Miami Garden Ravens. And if you look those guys up, it's some big time, big time ballers out there.
They got some dudes.
Yeah.
Coach, I think that it's really important, just because you're providing an experience for for all these kids that you know might not be able to do it on their own. So that's you know it sounds like a great conference alignment. I think it's gonna be really exciting to watch as well. So, Coach, my last question, and probably the hardest question, right? Because you got to deal with me a little bit on this one, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you juggle? You know, you've been coaching for over 15 years, like you said. You've been around some really good coaches. You talked about absorbing the information, and then you know what you're doing as a coach. How do you juggle being a coach and being a parent and sitting there watching your sons play football?
I'm like on eggshells watching my kid play. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Honestly, it's like my son plays at St. Peter's Prep, and it's funny because I remember his sophomore year, he felt he was bigger than what he was supposed to be, and I used to say, just relax. I would actually call Coach a bit too, like, Coach, what I should do? You know, I ask for advice. Like, he's like a mentor to me, so I would call him and ask for advice. He'd be like, just be patient. And I will relate the same thing to my son. Be patient. You got this. It's just the hard part, like seeing him frustrated and crying and little things like that. Then you switch from your coaching thing to like a dad. Like, it's all right. It's this, that, and the third. But my thing is, I don't want to approach coaches like, obviously, I probably never even came to you. Oh, Fly, you can.
Yeah.
Probably could say that. I probably called Coach one time or spoke to him one time, but for the most part is you got to trust in the coaches. You got to know who your kid is as a person and as a player. And then once you know that, then you can't sit there and, like, if a kid is not deserving of it, or you know you can't cry over spilled milk. He's got to be the one that kind of go into it. So like right now, I have my youngest son, Nasir, he plays for me. And he started off, he was a quarterback, right? And then now he's like, Dad, I want to be a slot receiver because he sees his brother playing slot receiver. I want to be a slot receiver. I have a text message too. It's funny. I screenshotted it and saved it. He texted me before the national championship game and said, Dad, this is my last youth game. Can I play slot? And I'm like, no, they don't need you to play slot today. You need to play quarterback so we could win the game. And it's just like trying to juggle giving them kind of what they want instead of what the team needs. And I think that was like a tough part. And then the main thing is, like, honestly, I haven't seen y'all play against Joe's. Well, last year I did at night, but the other games, the playoff games, I was missing a lot of games because we were actually coaching. I had my own games, and I'll be missing my son play and things like that. But for the most part, is like dealing with, like, I get kids scholarship offers all the time, right? And then your own son will say, well, Dad, I don't have one. And it's kind of tough dealing with that because I'm his father. And then you saying, look, son, you got to do it this way, and that way. And I think sometimes when they stop believing, and it's like, how do you as a father flip from a coach to saying, look, just trust me, I'm going to make it happen for you just like I did this other kid. But they may not see the same vision you see, you know, because you constantly preaching it to them or saying it to them. Like, I remember it was when they were younger, I was working them out, pushing them, but I wasn't pushing them hard. And then now they get to a certain age, and I look back, I say, dang, I should have pushed them a little tougher than what I was doing. You know, I wasn't being easy. I mean, I wasn't being hard on them. Actually, I was giving them to them smooth. But it'd be another kid who's not my kid, and to gravitate to me stronger than my own kid would about the game of football, because they may see all the kids that I put out, but my kids is like, it's second nature to them. You know, they know everybody. They grew up with them. They probably seen them before they Al-Qadim Muhammad, for instance. He used to spend out of our house, things like that, right? My kids grew up seeing him all the time. And then to see him make it, they're like, all right, it's given. It's not given. And that's the part I'm trying to get them to understand. You have to work for everything you get. So when I see, like, Coach, he gets in my son's ass, and it's like, all right, I don't care who your father is. If you doing this, you won't play, and you won't get the ball thrown. And I'm hurt, you know, but at the end of the day, I got to live with it. And one thing about you is Coach O'Fly, he's going to respect you later on when he's a grown man and say, you know what, Coach didn't give a shit about, excuse my language, but he didn't care about who my dad was. You know what I'm saying? He didn't care about none of that stuff. You didn't do this. You was half-assing in practice. That's why you're doing what you're doing. And now we understand it. So salute to the guys. You know, I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you, you know, telling us that, because, you know, I have a 2-year-old. So I got some time before I have to wear both the coaching hat and the parent hat. So I really appreciate the information, because, you know, we don't get to have this conversation a whole lot. So, you know, that advice will definitely go a long way for me. You know, in a couple of years, I'll probably be coaching my daughter's soccer team or something, and you know, and then I'll be a parent, and I'll probably be one of those parents that you know, that you see in the stands yelling at coaches.
Call security, man. Call security. Get that guy out of here.
Now you'll be on eggshells.
Yeah.
You'll be on eggshells.
Hey, and
So I appreciate that.
I identify with it as well, Coach. I know you're not going to believe it, because I got a baby face. I'm actually older than Coach O'Flaherty. Nobody believes it, man. But, so my oldest is 27 years old now, and that's the downside of when, you know, you coaching. I know that a big part of, as he was raised up, was being around his dad being a coach and being around the game. The downside of it for me was he got a 5th year from the Ncaa with a medical redshirt. I saw him play 5 times in 5 years. That was tough, you know. So
wow.
Sometimes there's there's a downside to it, but the good way outweighs the bad, I think, as you know, for sure. Transitioning to just on that topic of parents, is a slight transition toward one of the things that I've noticed, and you talked about exposure, which I think is a great thing. We see social media every day, which is a great thing. But one of the things that I've noticed is that with the growth of social media and that amount of exposure, sometimes what comes with it, and probably the single greatest factor I've seen, is a kid who played with this kid over here who's got 12 Power 5 offers. Well, shoot, I was on his team. I could definitely play at Rutgers. I could definitely play at Ohio State. And there's this major, almost like delusion about what level, you know, maybe you or your child or could play at, which is tough. It's tough to deal with as a coach sometimes.
You hit that right on the head.
No doubt. The one expression I always use with the kids is, it's not even, and this diffuses a lot of it. It's not necessarily about where you can play. It's about where you can get recruited based on measurables, based on all different types of factors. So you got to get, with the amount of exposure that your program gets as a program, and then the exposure you get your kids, you got to deal with, must have to revise expectations for parents and kids all the time. Talk about that.
Yes, so like how you said that, like for instance, even when my son is 5'7", 5'8", at his best, yep. And I explained, I say, with the next kid, it's not meant for you. You know, you have your own path to follow, and I get a call. I got a call the other day about that kid that actually plays at another school in the Big North. Says, I'm going to transfer. Mother said, I want to transfer my son because the kid that's in the same grade got multiple scholarship offers. He have not one. I said, Mom, look at that kid. You see his size. You see his frame. Another thing, I deal with this all the time. Kids that's at Westside right now, like a local public school, right? Kid named Shaquan Lawyer, 6'2", 185, built like a stallion. My son, I want to go to Westside. You want to go to Westside for what? Because they're giving out scholarship offers over there. Do you see what that kid look like? Yeah. Huh?
No doubt.
And I had to show him, like, listen, his path is different. Your path is another path, you know. And sometimes you just gotta. I try my best to get them to try to buy into what I'm saying and to listen. You have to follow your own path, like you said. Some kids is Division III kids. Some kids is Division II kids. Some kids is 1AA, and some kids is Power 5 kids. You just got to believe in your thing, and if you love the game, and the end of the day is you trying to get an education out of it, right? So if you love football, like I tell my youngest son, because I feel like he's going to be a coach, I just say, listen, play the game as far as you can play it, and then from there you study the game. If you want, that's what you want to do. You study your coaches right now, and then when you graduate from high school, you go to college, you continue to study, and then you'll be that coach.
No doubt. And I think something important for parents, and I know Coach O'Flaherty will co-sign on this. Just in the last year and a half, my own high school team and staff that I'm a part of, we had, I think, out of that senior class, we had 6 kids go on to play college football, and it was an even spread. We had a Division I scholarship player, 2 Division II scholarship players, and then 3 Division III players. But the stuff that you can do when you package kids up and you get them a great football opportunity, a great academic fit, the opportunity for different types of aid packages, even if it's not straight football scholarships because it's Division III. I've routinely seen guys at top flight institutions that cost 60, 70, God forbid, even 80 grand sometimes now. Kids going to college for less than $10,000 a year, which is cheaper than a private high school in New Jersey. You know what I mean? So the opportunities are there. You just got to kind of stay with it, and don't ever, this would be my advice, piggyback on what the two of you had to offer, is don't ever let the attention that you get from colleges, don't feel any sort of like embarrassment about what other people evaluate you as. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If all your opportunities wind up being at the D3 level, go to D3 and dominate, man, and enjoy yourself. If you really think you're an FCS player, an FBS player, but you wind up with 3 D2 offers, don't forget, we just had a trivia question answer a couple weeks ago, Coach O'Flaherty. Remember where we had the kick returner from the who's all pro, made the Pro Bowl, led the NFL in some big kick return stats, and played wideout, was from Division II Assumption College. Now think about that. There's a whole lot of dudes that scholarshiped at higher levels. The 180 or so FCS schools, the roughly 140 FBS programs. None of them wanted this guy, and he's all pro in the NFL. So sometimes you just got to put the blinders on and just do what you do best, and I think good things will happen for you. You know what I mean? That's the message I like to give to parents.
We actually preach steak and potatoes. Steak and potatoes, that's the degree. If you put some gravy on my mashed potatoes, I'm going to eat that too. And that's the NFL. So we good with the steak and potatoes.
That's good, man. That's good. Now, we know that we're all very conscious of it. I think the theme that's been, along with the corona, it's been superseded here in the last now, gotta be 6 weeks that we've really seen a voice that's coming from everybody everywhere, and it's been refreshing to see. It's been behind some multiple tragedies, which represent a trend over time, which is very disturbing. But recently, and I don't know if it was the perfect storm of people being cooped up in the house and feeling that just general frustration, and then you add to it, you've now started to see people in the streets that don't just look like you, Coach Nas. Now you're seeing people look like me and Coach O'Flaherty out in the streets and saying like, this ain't right, and it's and that's been significant. What's been your message to the young guys in your program and just people in general related to the follow-up and everything that's happened since the murder of George Floyd?
Yeah. Well, I actually had a parent that called me too and was telling me, like, Coach Nas, your voice is stronger than what you think it is. You need to get out in front of it. Don't sit back. So the thing what we doing now, like we jumped out in front of it right now. We actually got 4 buses that's going to DC to bring the kids down so we can do the march. They get to see the different people and meet different folks from other places. But, like when I was growing up, it was always like, I remember being a kid and it was like white was right, or you'll get around different white people and then you may be extra nice, just so you don't feel like you was a bad person. And now my thing is, now as an adult to the kids, is like, no, you be strong, be who you are, and make the world love you for you. And now is the time that we educating families and kids on what you do when you stop by officers or police, or if you're in a situation, how to deal with it. Because most of the times it turns into other situations because of, how the situation escalate. It's like, how do you just de-escalate, or how do you maneuver around situations that's like that? But the most part, like on our team, we got different races, all people from other places. We just love each other, man. It's more love if you put more love out, in the world, and just continue to love each other and just grow and just try to stay away from, the stuff that's going on, and kind of not to put yourself in a judge box where you just judging things off of what you see. And then like, because our kids they go into these schools where they go on with different races. I don't want them to get to school and say, oh, he's racist because of this, or a teacher said, oh, your shirt was out. Now she was racist. No, your shirt should have been tucked in. I don't want the guilt part neither. You understand what I'm saying? But for the most part, it's just stand up and be who you are and represent yourself at a higher place. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. And woven in with kind of that overall message, I think is really positive. We had Jordan McAfee, who was a UConn transfer, was a quarterback at Assumption College on a few weeks ago, and I thought it was good to get a young voice on there who's just out in the world, and he's involved in the game that we love, but he's also a young man. I don't call him a kid now. He's 21 years old, but he's a young man now out in the world. Obviously, the acute stuff. We want black people to stop getting murdered, obviously, but
yes,
I think it is way more than that, because it has to be about just day-to-day life. I just over the course of my life, hearing black people's voices wasn't all the first thing out of their mouth is like, I don't want to get killed out here in the street by police or whoever it is. It was more about like, unfair opportunities in the workplace, getting followed in a convenience store, corner store, whatever it is, like all those little indignities and injustices that happen day to day. That's the stuff that Jordan McAfee even more was like, what's going to escalate if I do this, which is a normal thing and I'm not doing anything wrong. How's that potentially going to be perceived? And I hope that what comes out of this long term is that everybody will start to recognize that it's not just this group of people over here making everything a big deal or making everything about race. It's not what it is. It's about everybody having access to the same type of day-to-day existence, which I think is really important. And I'm glad that you got your guys active. Activism's important, man. We're quiet, bad stuff happens. There's just no doubt about it. The 1% will be okay, but the rest of us probably not.
It's breaking a cycle. I think now you see kids, they seeing it and they making their own decisions instead of with their parents or grandparents that was put down on them, and it's the love. The love outweighs the hate all the time.
No doubt. That's the truth. All right, so this is good stuff, Coach Nas. We're about to put you now. This is a big prize pack you get if you get this trivia question right here. All right, we're jumping on to it right now. So I hope you're ready, man. We told you we weren't. Chad's gonna let us know. Chad, what do we got going?
Time for complete QB trivia.
I'll tell you what, Chad's right. He's on it every week, Coach. He knows when to say it. Right. So now we're gonna jump in here. Now we talked about rules changes at different levels of football. Well, there was a very significant rule change that you two. You're old enough, but I remember I was already basically grown at this time when this rule changed. A little hint on what the answer is going to be here. But so the question that I have related, and it relates closely to rules changes, is when was the last year that the NCAA did not have overtime rules during the regular season, during football season, during the regular season? So it's multiple choice, Coach. You didn't have to study for this. It's multiple choice. So thank God for that, right? This is not the SAT here, all right? So we're right here. Yeah. We're gonna say A 1993, B 1994, C 1995, D 1996. In the chat, if you want to answer, first person that DMs us or answers in the chat with the correct answer, you're gonna get something nice from Complete QB. And then to our guest. This is like most shows with a big budget, Coach. They give you a gift no matter what. We only give you a gift if you
win. Yeah. So you said that. All right. When was the last time the overtime it changed?
So the last time that there was no overtime rule in place, what year was it that during the regular season, the last regular season where there was no NCAA overtime? Was it A 1993, B 94, C 95, or D 1996? Coach Nas. For a really big prize, man.
I'm gonna go with C.
1995. Our super producer Renee didn't cheat and give you that answer ahead of time, right? You just got that cold.
Nah.
I'll tell you what. If I was answering the question, I would have got it wrong. I had to look it up, man. I was gonna say it was later, like 1990. Overtime rules were tested. They were actually tested for the bowl games that followed the 1995 season. So they didn't start with regular season. They tested them then. I remember being a kid watching Syracuse and Auburn in the Sugar Bowl. We talked about this, Coach O'Flaherty, a couple weeks ago, right?
Yep.
And we said that I remember in the Sugar Bowl, it was a 16-16 tie. Both of these teams, with Syracuse especially, they were in the mix maybe for a national championship. And the game ends 16-16, man. It was just terrible. It was a way awful way for it to finish, man. So that's our thing. So we got to see what's in the Complete QB prize vault, Coach. But I know it's going to be something good, man, you know. So, Coach Nas, we want to thank you for being with us, brother. It was really good chance to talk to you and get your insight. And I know, Coach O'Flaherty, anything from you?
Definitely, Coach. Appreciate, obviously our interaction, over the last, 4 years. But, definitely what you're doing for your community, and by far more than your community in terms of your outreach. It's definitely, extremely positive. I think it's great for our state. I think it's great for, obviously the kids that transition into high school football. So I'm definitely appreciative of that. So not only thank you for coming on tonight, but also, what you do on a daily basis for all the kids in your program.
Thank you, guys. And the feeling is mutual. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I appreciate that, man. So next week, we're actually going to be on hiatus because we're going to let everybody kind of deal with this July 4th weekend, and we're going to just, next week's a week where everybody's just going to try and relax a little bit. Hopefully we're ramping up, getting closer to when football can get back to as close to business as usual as we can. So, folks, remember that. I didn't have poor Chad voice that dropped, so it's going to say join us next week. But just watch out for social media when we come back. And, again, want to thank everybody being with us tonight and look forward to seeing you guys again. Make sure you follow us on all our platforms. It's at CompleteQB on Twitter and Facebook. It's at CompleteQB2000 on Instagram. CompleteQB videos on YouTube. Please make sure you get there. We'll continue to post during the hiatus when we're off next week. Thank you to the super producer, Renee. She holds it all together. I'm just a pretty face that jumps on here, man. Good job, Renee. Excellent work. Really appreciate it. Coach Santiago checking in. Big shout to Coach Santiago, a member of our staff. He's a Shabazz grad, said great stuff about Newark. Great football and Newark. Great discussion tonight. Thank you all. Same
yes,
right back to you, Coach. Oh, real quick, I promised it to the viewer. Coach, you got 10 seconds each. What do you think of Dwayne Haskins? Because somebody asked us. They want to know. I gave my opinion. Coach O'Flaherty, what's your opinion on Dwayne Haskins?
Yeah, well, I think you said it. The organization and people around him aren't kind of servicing him as well. So can he be
a good NFL quarterback, Coach? That's what I want to know. Can he be a good NFL quarterback?
Absolutely.
All right,
absolutely.
Coach Nas, what do you think?
Dwayne I agree Haskins? Too. I think Dwayne Haskins could be a great NFL quarterback one day.
I agree.
Hopefully get to a spot. Yeah.
No doubt. Agree for sure. All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for being with us for Complete QB Live. Join us next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern.